Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Sakamoto Days, Season 1.
Yep, Sakamoto Days, Season 1, Episode 17. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. Sage, we're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and, well, PSA for the entire week is I got my old channel back. I won the not-so-legal battle. I'll do a video on that at some point, a week or two, explaining since we are starting Peacemaker this week, I gotta get that handled. I gotta get this stupid app to stop pinging me on shit that I don't care about. I'm sure you guys keep hearing the ESPN thing go off. If you're wondering what that is, it's a Sports Center sound. It's classic, but still, it's annoying me. So got the channel back, got my VOD archive back. That's cool. I'm excited about that, so I'll do an in-detailed video on that. But either way, as for Sakamoto Days, you ever just walk out of a hospital after you get an MRI with the machine around your waist like a belt? Because that's what happened last week. That was cool. You know, a lot of other interesting things went on. But Slur definitely seems to be establishing himself as the overarching dude for the whole series. So that's probably something that we don't need to concern ourselves with discussing anymore. There might be one other guy after Slur. Maybe he'll be kind of more like Stain or something, that we keep drawing those comparisons because that's kind of like the vibe that he's given off. But he's definitely going to be major, you know?
Yeah, so far, Slur is coming off as basically being like the Aizen, where like he's the main villain of the series, but he may not necessarily be the final villain of the series.
Right. So either way, just have to see where it goes from here. Don't really have a huge amount to say going into this one because we pretty much talked out everything we needed to last week. I got nothing else going on for this one right now because we're kind of like at a lull in the combat with people recovering and see what the big thing that starts up here. So gotta kind of let it happen and then talk about it because we already speculated on pretty much any and everything that we can outside of the big question mark is the old katana guy, which he did have the coolest thing that I need to go back and clip him opening that door with the sword. I have to do that. I didn't have time to do that this week with all the bullshit that's been going on for me. But he's MIA. So he's not KIA confirmed, he's just missing. He's definitely the guy that's missing out of the entire casualty report from last week.
Yeah.
So, anyway, as always, the link to the reaction on Patreon is down there in the description and or in the first pinned comment, assuming it functioned, and if that's what you're looking for. So if not, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the discussion and review. So we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So here goes something. Well, alrighty then. Best flame flight ever, right? What you totally want on a plane is live ammo, including things like light machine guns that have clip-fed magazines, potentially have thousands of rounds attached to them. No big deal, right? But either way, we started off the episode with Shishiba and I always forget her name because there's too many.
Osaragi.
Oh, Osaragi, yeah. They just brought back around a bunch of the stuff that they've been talking about in the previous episodes, so that kind of had that payoff and the continuation of their character dynamic and relationship and stuff like that. So that was pretty. The whole oh, now I understand what it's like when somebody breaks into your house. It's yeah, you just kind of walking through the rubble while the cleanup people are, man, those guys must make money, man. If they're not fairly compensated, man, I feel bad for those people. Now they're fixing up explosion damage and building that got cut in half, and they got some work to do, man. But either way, again, solid episode for what it was. We got a little bit on the antagonist side with them being able to reattach his arm, which, again, clean cut. Obviously, it's kind of weird that the deer head guy doesn't know about the old man. You know what I mean? Whoever did this, it's what do you mean whoever did this? How do you not know?
Well, the Order isn't super public knowledge, and he in particular seems to be one of the most enigmatic members that no one, even the other Order members, don't really know who he is or what he does. He just kind of shows up to the meetings occasionally and deals with stuff on his own.
Right. But either way, most, like, obviously Slur knows about the old man being, you know, potentially a cognitive god, and, you know, potential spam numbers calling me still. But that was kind of an interesting discussion that was very Persona. Like, they basically made him sound like he was the just physical manifestation of all the, like, the bloodlust around, like, assassin culture, basically. Kind of like how they do stuff like that in the Persona series. Is just like, if people, like, just think about something enough and will it into existence, there are a lot of gods that, like, function that way in Japanese culture, where the more people believe in something, the stronger it is. Or it might just, if there isn't, like, a god of said thing, then one will just, like, manifest kind of deal. So
Yeah, like in Persona in particular, that's the whole thing. Is that there's two kinds of gods. There are the very rare true gods that have been, like, basically around for all existence and are, like, the physical embodiment of, like, rules of reality. Like Nyx's death. Nyx's death. Philemon is. I believe he's supposed to be, like, choice, and then Narlathotep is supposed to be chaos.
right.
And those are, like, the only true gods that we know of for sure at the moment. But there's been a bunch of implying that there's going to be more. But the far more common and what you usually deal with in Persona are the cognitive gods, which are, like you were saying, they're just beings that either were created because enough of the collective unconscious agreed on a thing, or they're an individual who enough of the collective unconscious worshipped enough that they got elevated to god status.
Yep. So it'd be kind of interesting if that was actually the case with the old man, because there's enough, like, random metaphysical and, like, supernatural stuff going on with this series to who's to say he's not. You know what I mean? Why not? Especially since, like, nobody really knows much about him at all, and you know, kind of like age unknown, where he came from unknown. That's about it. You know what I mean? And he's insanely powerful on the scale and generally speaking. But when you look at that, that could be the only logical explanation for something. So,
yeah, according to Slur, he's never been defeated as far as anyone knows, and anyone even just surviving one of his attacks is considered to be a special case.
Yep. But circling back around to the whole, yes, it was cleanly cut, because just like the building was cleanly cut. So it's just one of those things. But again, I don't know how they managed to grab his arm and all the hoopla, but props, because what they did here, if you can reattach limbs like that if you do it fast enough. There might be, like, some minor complications and stuff like that, but
yeah, typically you'll have nerve damage and, like, difficulty with the limb as potential side effects, but it is possible to reattach things. I mean, that's the thing. Like, one of the first things you're advised to do is, as soon as you, like, lose a finger or something like that, is immediately put the severed finger on ice so that they can potentially reattach it.
Yep. So that was kind of a neat thing that actually made sense. You know, there was another gun thing in this that I'll get to, but the other part of the sequence that was kind of interesting is, like, oh, he won't reattach my ear. It's like, well, that's a whole other thing. The ear is just, like Age mentioned in the reaction, it's just cartilage. There's not really much you can do about it. You might as well at that point just get, like, a prosthetic that looks like an ear, and it's probably going to function the same way. You know what I mean? You're not really missing out on anything.
Yeah, there's nothing really to save or reattach to an ear.
Yep. Yeah, it's no different than if you just put your hand on the side of your head. You know what I mean? As long as your ear holes are there, it's just the cartilage around it. You know, you could just how you can enhance your ear like that. If your ear is taken out, you can just be like, what are you saying? And it'd be the same thing. It's just collecting the sound wave, the vibration in the air to, go into where it needs to, and it just kind of catches it, love, basically. So you don't really, there's nothing overly special about like this part of your ear. It's the inner part of your ear that matters.
Yeah, friggin' a lot of the ear is actually superficial at this point. And like there's even like being examples of people who are starting to evolve away parts of their ear because most of the ear function doesn't actually serve a function at this point. Its entire purpose is just to redirect sound waves into the ear canal.
Yep. So anyway, that's just another interesting science thing to go off on. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine. But we'll probably be seeing more of Slur and what they're doing with their recruiting process at some point. I'm sure we might not get everything as the viewer, but we'll probably get something. You know what I mean? Generally speaking, from the antagonist side, it just depends on how it's written. And if they're not going to... we talked about this before, where you kind of have to go either or. You either show none of the antagonist side and let it be a surprise, or you have to show maybe not all of it, but at least the majority of it kind of deal. So
writing wise, it seems like we're going Phantom Troop with Slur's crew. Now that like Slur's been properly introduced, it seems like we're going more for them like just being a whole other cast of characters that we're going to regularly see, even though they're technically in opposition to the main cast.
Right.
We're going to basically treat them like they're their own separate main cast.
Yep. So that should be interesting. So we'll be looking at that in the future here. But Sakamoto and Shin taking the transfer exam. Everything they were looking up at about the JCC. I hate that anytime I bring up a reference that it just keeps going on into another recording, and it drives me nuts. But a lot of things are connected by T's, and it's the same industry, and a lot of people take inspiration from other series. So what they said about the JCC is, and Food Wars is probably not the first series to ever do that, but it's like the most relevant one that I know of personally, is the whole like, all kinds of people enroll, but only a very small fraction of them actually graduate. And I believe the Totsuki rate was actually less than 90% failure rate. I believe it was like 95% failure rate or something like that. So
I want to say for Totsuki it was an 8% success rate.
Yeah, it was pretty huge. But either way, it's basically the same thing going on. Like the blue-haired newbie here, she's like full Megami from that series, down to the good luck charm that Megami carried around in that series. You know what I mean? So you got to draw some parallels with stuff like that. It's like, yep, seen this before, but it's just another character archetype. It's not like that any series has a monopoly on certain character types. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, like character stereotypes. Anime plays a big part in establishing stereotypes and making use of them. I mean, that's the reason why like so many of the stereotypes we use these days have Japanese names, because they're predominantly used in anime and have been spread to other writing and fiction as a result of the growing popularity of the anime.
Right. So, yeah, either way, we had that whole thing going on, like the newbie crushing thing. It was very like the Hunter exam. We mentioned that during the reaction. The Hunter exam from Hunter x Hunter, to be specific.
Yeah, the JCC explanation was very Totsuki, but this whole situation of like how the transfer exam is taking place is very Hunter exam. We have the rookie crusher, we have all the newbies and the veteran exam takers. The whole thing of like, oh yeah, you could potentially just die in the exam and we don't really care.
Right. Just kind of weeding out numbers at that point.
And the whole thing of just like, oh, by the way, the exam has already started.
Fairly classic. Gotta appreciate it. So
It's like, once again, the big part of the Hunter exam is you had to pass like 3 exams just to even get to the exam.
right. I wish I had time to rewatch that again. Hopefully, that series does get to be finished. You know what I mean? From what we've heard about the Hunter x Hunter author, just to do a little quick aside because we're talking about it, he was doing better and he has written more, but it's one of those things where his situation, I can't believe we don't have the medical technology to help this man.
Well, most of his issue is like nerves and his spine, so it's like it's very delicate stuff to have to try to work on. But yeah, his situation improves. He does he just binge works like day and night, and then he's back to being bedridden for a few years.
I think we just need to get him to live in zero gravity. He just needs to live on the space station and be zero G all the time, right? That would probably solve some of the problem. Just put him in a zero G room and he just floats, and then there's no pressure on anything. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to worry about sitting up, you're just floating. But at the end of the day, really quick here, even if he can't finish it, his wife she did Sailor Moon, so she could finish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, his wife is the author of Sailor Moon, and they've already like agreed and publicly stated that if he ever gets to a point where he can't continue the source material at all anymore, that she's going to take over doing the like actual making of the manga.
Right.
And he's already outlined like the rest of the story to her and everything like that. So even if like he outright dies, she can still at least finish it.
Right. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because it's a very solid series and plenty of people want to see it come back. So hopefully it can. Yeah, especially since there's a lot of references to it in plenty of places. Speaking of references, man, they just keep getting these kids and everything, man. It's impressive.
And the bad kid keeps finding poop.
And he just keeps finding it. And maybe if Rudo shows up, they'll use it as a weapon. But yeah, this whole sequence was very reminiscent to things. I hope this guy gets a payoff. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, this exam itself even is... This part of the exam itself even is very freaking Hunter exam, because the whole, like, the island bit where you had to go find the person with your other number on it. Well, it's not that you had to find the person who had the matching number, or you had to get 6 other people's numbers.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what you did. You just had to have either the matching 2 number tags or 6 non-matching tags.
Yep. And in this case, you just needed 1 bullet. That's why Sakamoto was just like, here, take this. I don't need 3 of them.
Yeah, you have to have it. You have to get it, and then you have to keep it until the end of the exam, which in this case is probably you have to get the bullet and then still have the bullet when the plane lands.
Yep. So, either way, interesting sequence for what it was, but the thing here is, circling back around to this character here, I assume she's related to the other member of Sakamoto's class, the other person. I don't remember if they mentioned if it was a guy or girl, doesn't matter. But
they didn't, but the design looks more female.
Yeah. So...
but part of the reason why also I was bringing up the Hunter exam thing was just that that was like a go-to strategy a bunch of the different examinees took, was the just wait and hide approach. Because once again, it doesn't matter how you got the tag. It's just as long as you had the tag at the end of the exam. So if you just sit around and wait until all the fighting's over, and then you just pick off someone who did get a bullet and steal their bullet. Like, you didn't even necessarily need to pick them off, just manage to steal someone's bullet right at the last second.
Yeah, as they're exhausted or what have you. You know what I mean? It's a reasonable strategy of like, well, if everybody wants to drop in on the same spot in like a battle royale, okay, let them kill each other. I'm going to try to win the game here and just fight one team, not 19 at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's also a strategy that people do in battle royale, where it's just like you go drop in some obscure location, loot a few places, follow behind like teams and just take what they didn't take, and then just wait until it's the last few teams fighting each other.
Yep.
And try to third party.
Pretty much. So, fairly certain that this character that's fairly reminiscent of Megumin from Food Wars is probably related to that character that was from Sakamoto class, and that's probably the person that they look up to. She said she looks up to somebody and wants to be an assassin, and that character is an assassin, obviously. So
yeah, we don't know if they're alive or not, but we do know that like this character specifically mentions basically that like their family is aware of assassins. It's like the whole thing of like their family basically saying, yeah, you probably shouldn't be an assassin. You should just basically be a housewife because you're not built for it.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see the connections made with that character. But the other major character was this 14-year-old prodigy who is OCD, germaphobe, neat freak, all those kinds of things at once. You know what I mean?
Yes, he quote doesn't like getting his hands dirty, so he fights with his feet.
Yeah, because there's no splash radius on anything, soy sauce or otherwise, right? So, yeah, it's one of those things where I've talked about like age-related stuff when it comes to like professional sports and stuff like that. But this one is like a 14-year-old calling a 21-year-old an old man. Like, we really need to get over this kind of crap, man. It's really not that big of a deal.
No, he's a whole 50% older than me.
Yeah, it's crazy. But either way, I'm sure this guy will be relevant, semi-relevant kind of deal. So,
yeah, I'm sure most of the characters that kind of got pointed out will be at least somewhat relevant over the course of this exam, because this is obviously just going to be like the first stage of leading out like the week.
Yep.
And we'll probably get at least like one or two more.
So we're going school arc kind of, so that should be kind of interesting for the middle part of this season. So yeah, we got to see Shin activate his power. Cool. As long as they're going to continue building that up, kind of like increasing the duration that he can use it for. Obviously, he barely used it right here, but just using it more in general is just as good as like stamina training. You know what I mean? You have to activate it sometimes, or it's going to fall off even more than if you don't activate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the whole thing too, is using the like stopwatch. Is the fact that he's activated it, so he's timing how long he's in it, so he knows like roughly what his limit is when it's gonna fall off.
Right. So, yeah. Whoever has to clean up this plane, I don't envy them. Really. The other major thing here was the weapons that were dropped down, like how it's like the stuff that gives you like oxygen, that kind of thing. It wasn't just firearms and knives and stuff. We had a spatula, which the one instructor slapped the crap out of the newbie crusher with. There was a guy that had like a tennis, some sort of tennis racket, maybe like a badminton, some sort of racket, that kind of thing.
Another guy to pitchfork.
There was a guy with like a nail bat. That's kind of unconventional in a way. There was the pen, obviously, for Sakamoto, which is hilarious. But there were a couple other things in there that were just like random, off the wall, just nonsensical things in the background, which was funny as hell.
Yeah, they mentioned them being completely random, but I'm pretty sure they weren't actually totally random, that they basically were throwing stuff at people that would challenge them, or as nods, like the fact that they gave specifically Sakamoto the pen, which is his signature weapon, and they gave Shin a knife, which is his signature weapon.
Right. So, either way, solid enough for what it was. It'll be interesting to see how they handle going back to the school and whatnot, what the kind of environment that's going to be, how many people are going to pass this transfer exam, and how many people are going to be actually like in whatever class they take. I mean,
yeah, which part of the reason why I call out the nods is because I'm pretty sure that's kind of their indirect way of saying like, yeah, we know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, they're not stupid. You know what I mean? Sakamoto wearing a hat isn't going to be enough.
Well, he does also have the whole benefit to having added all his weight.
Well, yeah.
So most people would immediately recognize him from that front.
Right. So, anyway, that's all I got. Looking forward to however they continue this next week with this, and then whenever we get the asides with the antagonist side with Slur and his gang. So, anything else, Age?
Yeah, we'll just have to see if Lou is taking the other exam, or if she is just going to outright get written out of this in place of this other female character for this arc.
Right.
And yeah, the frickin' gun thing was Sakamoto disassembling the gun with one hand.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. That makes sense. The gun he disassembled was like a traditional M15, M4A, that kind of thing, and that thing can be disassembled into a lot of pieces. So that made sense, and he disassembled it with one hand.
Yeah, those are also designed to be very easy to disassemble, reassemble, and maintain. The whole point of the M4A1 is just to be an extremely easy to use weapon that requires very little training.
Yep. So yeah, I almost forgot about that, but that was the only other thing that I was going to mention, that gun thing, and it wasn't a thing that tilted me a little bit like every other gun thing has, because this one made sense. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hang out with us here in the dojo for more anime night in the Sakamoto Days, Season 1, Episode 17. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.